Hello, I am Brother Kelly Hughes, Chaplain of the Arts. We are broadcasting live to tape from the beautiful Valiant Theatre in the heart of Winnipeg's greasy Tenderloin District. This is Kelly Hughes Live, Slices, one guest, 1 hour. It is, you're watching us on YouTube, maybe, or listening to us on UMFM 101.5 every Saturday at 1 o'clock. Thank you so much for stopping by. And thank you so much to my guest for stopping by, Victor Mondaca. How you doing?
Not too bad, buddy. How are you?
Great. You rode your motorcycle over here?
Yeah, you got to enjoy when you can.
Well,
that's one of the things, yeah.
Do you ride in the rain? Because I feel like it rains about 55 minutes out of every hour right now.
No, I'm a fair weather rider. I've been pretty seasoned in these days, so only when the weather's nice, I bring the bike out.
That's good. Be
Yeah.
safe. So just tell us. One of the things, the main thing that I want to talk about today is, kind of what's happening on the streets and whatever. Tell us your how you're involved with with the grassroots, with the people on the. I don't know. I don't want to say. People always say homeless, which is not, but
unsheltered,
but also people often say it when it's not. Like people use that to everybody. They say, "Oh, homeless guy," and I'm like, "How do you know? You saw him doing a thing. How do you know he doesn't live somewhere?" But anyway, so tell us your story.
Well, and at the same time, we're talking about demographics right now. So about 80% of the folks who are unsheltered are Indigenous. Are they homeless, or are we on their land?
Oh yeah.
So technically, they are home. They've been moved away from.
So before we start chopping up, tell us about you and how you're involved with things.
So me and my partner run a consultation company. So we do community safety consulting. I have spent a lot of time working in the sector as well, from shelter support through different things like that. At the same time, I'm very much lived experience. So what the doctors call these days substance use disorder in remission, medical term for it. I'm in recovery. That's all that means. And formerly unsheltered as well. Spent a few months of my life when my addiction got really, really bad. Couch surfing. After that failed, I had no recourse but to live in a park for a little bit. I was very ashamed to admit that for a very long time. And luckily I had some friends that would give me access to a shower. I was doing some work that gave me a meal a day. So still very much, I shouldn't say functioning through my addiction at that point, but surviving. Yeah.
Did you grow up in what you'd call a functional household?
No. First generation immigrant, came here with parents that obviously were chasing that, we can't call it the American dream, but the North American dream, with working a lot. So chasing the dollar and working a lot. So myself and my younger sibling, we were left kind of to our own devices for a very long time. So there's a lot of things that can occur when that happens, right? So not the greatest upbringing. Struggle through a lot of intergenerational trauma, different things like that, and
Did they come from a place where they were sort of trying to? Was it just economic, or were they trying to escape something? Or?
A little bit of both. Yeah, absolutely, a little bit of both. So I'm originally from South America and Chile, and my parents came here in the mid '80s. So still during that dictatorship and things like that.
So, So we're, just for those of you that don't know, we're right here on the south side of Logan, and Victor and I are sitting closer than just about anybody else to the new supervised consumption site. It's just right over there. We could practically throw a rock, and there is a small enclave of folks that live in North Logan. There's just some 3 blocks, and my partner was saying that. I know this old guy from Chile, and my partner was saying that I found where so-and-so, I found where he's posting all this kind of negative stuff about the supervised consumption site, and I'm like, you know what? Like this guy was dragged out of bed in the middle of the night by Pinochet's guys
Yep,
and
yep.
tortured, and lost his eye, and ended up in, had to escape and got to Canada. So I'm like, that guy gets a free pass. I mean, I think his opinions are not great, but he can say whatever he wants. I mean,
Yeah.
that's legit.
I know exactly who you're talking about, by the way.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Small community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
It's just funny. We were just talking about that, but yeah, I mean, it's such a complicated thing. Have you been to any of the consultations for the?
No, because and I haven't been just more because out of choice. Because as someone who values and believes in harm reduction and a lot of things, I don't think we're far enough along in the conversation for me to step in yet.
Well, most of what I've been hearing is just people that don't want it, and it's mostly, I feel like, I mean, aside from the guy that we're talking about who does live over here, a lot of people that don't live over here, it's a lot of people who, think that people shouldn't use drugs, and they think that the government is buying drugs for people, and they think, I mean, on the one hand, I guess they think that it's going to make the problem worse, and which kind of brings me to why I was talking to your partner, because this whole thing, we're still in the midst of it right now with the city's 10-day. Tell me what the fuck it is.
The 10-day blitz. Police are out there removing folks from the public eye. Is essentially what it is, in my opinion, of course. Yeah. And what's happening there is it's individuals who are using substances openly in public, as well as paraphernalia, and have heard us far, and once again, hearsay, so I'm not going to talk either way, but if you are carrying an naloxone kit, that gives enough warrant for a search, a pat-down.
Really?
It's very akin to the stop and frisk situation that we saw in New York in the 90s, and follows kind of suit in what's going on in Alberta as well.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy for lots of reasons, but the naloxone thing is bonkers, because I know lots of people, like my girlfriend who walks her dog. She lives over on Waterfront, and she walks her dog, and she carries a big red naloxone thing with her, so that people know, so that in case there's a problem. But also, I mean, she, she's had to use it. So, so that's crazy. And like, what do they think? I just don't know. Do you know? I guess you can't. So is it the city and the police, or both, or who is it? Who's behind it?
I think it's the city.
Yeah.
I think the city. We're going into an election year. We have some mayoral candidates who I'm assuming are being squeezed pretty hard by the general population about the optics and what the city looks like and different things like that. And to be completely honest, if I can be frank, it sounds to me like a lot of folks just are tired of seeing suffering, and it's time for that suffering to go away somewhere.
Well, no, that's exactly it. I mean, they just don't want to see it, and that's the thing. And so, and I mean, that's the thing about like all these people complaining about it being over here. Like, I mean, it's like half a block from Siloam. Like it's not going to bring any more people over here. They're already over here. And like, who, like I said, I went to a couple of Zoom meetings, and then I went to a physical one, and I just felt like my sense was that there were a lot of people that just didn't live over here. So it's not even like they don't want to see it. Like, they don't want to know. They don't want to know that it's. I guess on the internet, I guess you can see everything. I guess you don't even have to be over here.
Yeah.
So
and that's the kind of unfortunately the society we live in these days is where we have this weird overlap of what we, the day-to-day plus the after hours where people are going through forums or going through Facebook and different things like that, right? So,
and if you look at, see, it's very, now that you can't now that there's no more news sources on social media, you get a bunch of like weird kind of quasi news sources like Chris D and Winnipeg Wilden and stuff like that. And if you read the comments, they're just gross.
Yep.
Like the people are just awful, and yeah, there, you know, somebody will post a video of, you know, some poor person, you know, doing some, you know, there was the famous one from years and years ago, somebody taking a dump in the plant at Portage Place. You remember that one?
Yep.
And that stuff goes around, and then people have all these awful things to say about some person who, you know, probably didn't even remember that the next day.
Oh, exactly.
And I guess I just think like what are they? Aside from the fact that I don't think this is right, what they're doing, this 10-day blitz, like, what do they think it's going to do? I mean, is it how, like, are they going to lock people up and then,
Well, and that's,
what is the point to it? Like,
Yeah.
I get it, like, when you're doing it, you know, like, if the Olympics are going on and they do that thing where they, you know, but like,
which
3
we've seen them
days
done,
is-
right? In the city, we've seen them done because we've hosted the Pan American Games.
Yeah.
Right. So, but no, absolutely. And if anything, it just creates more danger for the individuals who are in, you know, substance use disorder or, and to be completely frank, is in that suffering, in that cycle of suffering, right? Because now they're away from the general eye.
Yeah.
People like myself who carry naloxone everywhere we go. Even just in the last 2 weeks, I've stopped 3 times to assist because people were visible to me.
Yeah.
If they're not, then what happens? When we move people from visibility, more harm occurs, right?
Yeah.
So,
but you're right. I mean, this is pushing people to the margins, and people just don't want to. They just don't want to see it. I mean, you know, I don't know. Push them all down to the riverbank. Like I don't really understand. Yeah, and I mean, it's not like it's great. I mean, what's happening? Like it's not like the alternative argument is, oh, everything's fine, everything's great.
no, absolutely.
Nobody actually thinks that. And you know, because even like you were saying, you know, are we living on the, you know, the homeless people, are we living on their land? And that's a great question. But you know, living in a tent is not safe.
No, absolutely.
For various reasons. But in this park next to us, last year we had 3 or 4 big tent fires with explosions because they were using, you know, they had propane or butane for cooking or heating or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And so I think in all those cases nobody was there, but it's just like, you know, I mean, that's unsafe. That's your home, and your home blows
Absolutely.
up.
And it's unsafe for people, right? Like a lot of the arguments I don't disagree with as well. Like people would need to be able to use parks. Children should be able to walk around and be safe. General population should be able to do the same. I absolutely get all of those arguments, right? But at the same time, then where?
Right, but that is actually the argument for helping people. That's actually the argument for helping people, because then you're saying, well, you know, we want the parks to be used by, you know, everybody and kids and whatever, so we don't, you know, want these people living in parks.
Right.
And so I mean, you either just push them, like I say, you either just push them to the margins, or you figure out how to help people. Now, I mean, that's really complex because, like I see Marion Willis, she posts all the time about, you know, we've cleaned up the riverbank here, and all the people are housed, and I'm always like, where do they go? Because, and also, like, I mean, great, like, not to say that people shouldn't be, you know, I'm not like trying to run her or, you know, the street links down, but like, people don't just live outside because they don't have a place. You know, there's a certain freedom that comes with living outside. That
Absolutely.
I mean, a lot of people just can't really. They just can't live in. A lot of people can't live in a rooming house for a bunch of reasons.
Absolutely. Yeah. And some people only function when they're around community.
Yeah.
Right? Some people like to be around peers.
Yeah.
So if you put them in an apartment by themselves,
Yeah.
they will fail 100% of the time, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of complexity here. Yeah, absolutely.
So, what do you think? Because the other thing is, I mean, so many people are. I have a friend who runs the residence at Siloam, and I asked him one day. I said, "How many of your clients would you say live with mental illness?" And he's like, he thinks about it for a minute. He goes, 100%.
I don't disagree.
Well,
Even if we're talking about substance use disorder, right? That's categorized as a mental health.
But for most of those, I feel like for most of those people, there's reasons, right? It's not in a vacuum. I mean, I have a friend who has struggles with substance use, and he grew up in care most of the time. His mom was not great, and then stuff happens when you're in care, and then then you get mixed up with the law a little bit, and then he a number of times in his life he lived out on the streets, and then while you're on the streets it's dangerous, and he got hit in the head at least once with an hatchet, and then he got a head injury, and then his that makes sort of, so the existing mental health stuff gets worse, and if you're out on the streets you're not taking your meds.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
the whole stabilization process will most likely fail, right? Where's your medication? How are you getting the medication? We have certain medications that are controlled, which also carry some sort of value to the street community. So that also becomes a hot ticket. So now, if somebody is aware of these things, then your medication that you require might either be traded, bartered, sold, or stolen.
Yeah.
So then, how do you now go and refill these things when you don't have ID?
Yeah.
If you don't have an address, how are you getting the ID? Right? There's all these little layers of complexity that occurs that a lot of people just don't understand sometimes.
Well, and there's also the kind of the will, and there's the decision making, and there's the executive functioning, and if you're taking something, if you're taking something that doesn't have any street value, if you're taking escitalopram or antipsychotics or something nobody wants, you're not going to, once you stop getting them, you're not going to kill yourself to figure out how to get your meds. When you've got all kinds of other things, going on, you're trying to figure out how to stay dry. You're trying to figure out how to.
Where's your next meal coming from? How are you gonna be warm? Where's your safety at? All kinds of stuff. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I guess it goes back to what you said, like early on here. Like, there's so many people that just don't care. Like, I feel like I was trying to think, like, is it 90% of people that don't care? Like, what's the number? Like, it's so many people, that just don't care. And then the 10%, just my made up number, of people that do care, there's compassion fatigue, which is real. Like, I've been here, for a dozen years or something. There's an apartment block next to us that has been owned by a slumlord forever, and it's like right, just like this 10 feet away from the house. And the second floor, because it was an old Salvation Army training center, the second floor is a rooming house. So the second floor is just all rooms, and there's actually 3 interior rooms, which is very odd, but it's a big square building, and that's just how it's laid out. And it was forever, like, it burned down a couple of times, and there was like, I stopped somebody from getting killed. People used to, smash my window, trying to get in my house, looking for people that were next door, actually, or people would throw stuff at the house from the upper windows. You had a microwave thrown at my house. I had a window thrown at me. Somebody that was visiting in the building smashed 3 of the windows in my truck with a pickaxe. And so, and I'm a compassionate person. And I think my small p politics are good. And I mean, I got just worn the fuck down, you know?
Absolutely.
And then when the last time it burned down, they fixed it up and now they rent it to street lengths and it's dry.
Okay.
And it's just like crickets. It's like nothing. It's like, you know what I mean? I'll see the occasional person outside smoking. And so all those people who were living there before, who were like just kind of, just basically that was like your last stop before being on the street. I think that all those people should have whatever help they can get. I feel like everybody deserves a place to live. But I'm glad they're not living next to me anymore. Because like I say, because it was just so long and there was just so much, and the people that are, we ran a community food cupboard for a year and a half, which we just stopped because it was a lot. But if everybody, or 50% of the people did a little bit of something,
even one good deed,
what
one process, and I hear what you're saying, like and a lot of times we're encountering a lot of these things, right? I feel like the numbers of folks that actually care is a lot higher. Unfortunately, the ones that don't are usually more vocal, and they tend to be out there a little bit more than the rest. At the same time, when it comes to a lot of folks here, we know that there needs to be all kinds of levels, like transitional. There needs to be support. There needs to be a recovery. There needs to be things geared towards addiction and different things like that. But also, people just don't want any of that in any of their backyards. So at this point, we're facing a lot of yes, please help people, but not here. Right, which is kind of where we're at here with the safe injection site or safe site.
Even Scott Oak. I mean, you remember how people fought that, and it's like it looks like a resort or something. And they in the summer they cut people's grass. In the winter they shovel driveways. I mean, they go out of their way to make themselves good neighbors. And people were just like. So, I mean, part of that is just like, part of that is a Winnipeg thing. Part of that is we don't want anything to change. I mean, it's like Portage and Maine. Don't open Portage and Maine. Everybody's going to die. And,
and it's been fine so far,
I feel like it's, exactly. I feel like it's fine. And even actually driving through there doesn't even seem any slower than it did before.
No,
so,
exactly.
I don't know, man, but that's kind of our default. And like you say, there's a number of people that are very noisy, and with the internet, people have platforms.
And people make assumptions. People make assumptions, right? When it comes to folks that are unsheltered or individuals that are facing certain things, they make these assumptions on who these individuals are, how they're going to act, like all these things, without ever actually understanding fully, right? They like you said, they're getting fringe information here and there, and they're piecing together certain things. One of the big arguments is, safe consumption is failing everywhere else. Why start it here? But people don't have the ability, like people haven't looked into it enough to be like, well, no, the systems that were supposed to support safe consumption started to be tailored away, right? And then they were left as standalone sites. We can only move as many people as we can into supportive or transitional housing because we only have X amount within that process. So funding changes, government changes, all different things change, but everybody just focuses on the tip of the iceberg, right? Oh, well, the safe consumption's failing everywhere else. So why start it here?
And I think that you said something that made me think of something that, that there are more people that do care. And I think they don't know what to do. I think that's one piece of it, and I think also people making assumptions. Like I've been living in the core for about almost 35 years, but I've been here for about a dozen of those. And when I got here, I sort of, I'd see these guys wandering around, with a sock full of solvent hanging out of their mouth or whatever, or whoever. Like everybody that I saw, they were just like them. They were like a mass to me, right? They were just like a monolith. And so, but once you like get to know people and you get more involved, I mean, you find out that everybody's got a story,
Yeah, absolutely.
and everybody's like, I used to have a classic car, and I felt, I used to keep it in my garage, but sometimes I'd have it out and I'd feel kind of like self-conscious, about, had this nice car and there's all these guys on welfare and whatever. And I totally misread that, because there's lots of guys that like classic cars,
Yeah.
and nobody was begrudging me for owning one. They wanted to look at it.
Yeah,
They wanted
absolutely.
to talk about it.
But you've touched, you hit essentially right on the head when I talk about these things as well, is one of the main aspects, and we always talk about a catalyst. What is the catalyst required, right? What needs to happen for change to occur? You touched on it though, knowing people's names, right? One of the big pieces is welcoming people into community, right? We keep marginalizing individuals further and further, and as individuals are already marginalized, we're just pushing them further and further away, right? Instead of understanding that, there is a story. You're absolutely right. And one of the ways we combat empathy or compassion fatigue is understanding the fact that we shouldn't be saying what's wrong with you, but what's happened to you, right?
Yeah.
And that's when we start to shift that narrative a little bit, and we can actually start to make some changes and figure out what those stories are, listening to those stories.
And you're talking about bringing people into community. I mean, we're all in the same community, whether or not I think of the person who's living in the park in a tent as my neighbor. I mean, they're literally my neighbor.
They're your neighbor,
They're
exactly.
literally my neighbor.
Absolutely.
And so, and the other thing is like people, so I mean, I do think that I think that in a lot of ways all of us, I think that we lack a good understanding of community. I think there's lots of people, regardless of their financial situation or where they're from or whatever, that are isolated. We certainly found that out during COVID.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's some people that have natural communities, sort of sub-communities, natural things to rally around, like,
But even
tell me how many Portuguese flags you saw yesterday.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Instead of Canadian flags.
Well, and one of the things too, exactly what you talk about, is we have a really good case in point, which was COVID.
Yeah.
Right? We have folks that were on the fringe of certain situations. COVID hit, were isolated, and we saw an increase in both substance use disorder, all the way from alcohol up, as well as mental health concerns.
Yeah.
Right? So look what happened to folks just because of one, and we'll call it one event. It was a prolonged event, but you know what I mean, right? So it was a case in point of what can happen.
Well, and there was a specific thing that happened was where there were lots of people that signed up for CERB and they weren't eligible, and then once the government figured it out, they kicked them off assistance. I don't know about everybody, but I know people that were kicked off assistance until the government figured they'd paid them back or whatever. I don't know what they did, but I know people.
It was very complex. Yeah.
But I know people that like were living next door and then had to move out because they had. I mean, somebody who never has any money you give them the CERB money and they're not going to save it.
Well, exactly.
It's going to go, you know.
Absolutely.
One of the things that I think is so interesting is when people get mad about, just sort of a very real aside here, when people get mad about money going to poor people, I always say, you want to support the economy, give money to poor people because it's going right back in. Give it to rich people, they're going to sit on it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, all these shops and all that, you know, whoever,
absolutely.
right? Everybody's, you know.
And that conversation's come up a bunch of times too with the basic livable income.
Yeah.
Right. In most cases, and this is the funny part, you're absolutely right. Again, when folks are impoverished and they get some level of support, they're not going to Walmart to spend their money. They're going to the corner store because they know the guy there, right? Yeah. And in some cases, they can take a tab, right? And then come back at the end of the month and pay off their tab a little bit, and they milk and bread or whatever else they need, right? But in most cases, it stays within the community. So it would make more sense to give support to individuals because that's at the base of the economy that we're in. Yeah. Fuels the corner stores, which is why we have such an influx of corner stores in impoverished areas.
Well,
right?
Illegal smokes.
Well,
I mean, that's why. I mean, that you
Yeah.
see one that's all painted up. Yeah. And I'm curious. I know that some of them like get roasted by the cops, and then they seem to be just open again. I guess they just pay the fine.
Yeah.
I guess they make so much money that they pay the fine. But it's like, you know, the $20 a pack cigarettes. That's like you're creating a secondary market because there's lots of people smoke who don't have $20 a pack. You know, if they're smoking a pack
absolutely.
a day or whatever.
And what are you criminalizing at that point? But poverty, right?
Yeah.
If you can't afford the $20 packs, then you're left to.
So I wonder if a thing that's very interesting to me is the gray economy, because maybe that's the black. That's probably the gray economy, I guess. But that's always been very interesting to me because I do. One of the main things I do for money is I move people, I move stuff, and so I always have a helper. And you know, usually, not right now, but usually I have a helper from the neighborhood, and I just pay cash. You know, as soon as the job is done, and there are the people that you look at, like, you know, if you're driving down the street with somebody from the suburbs, a white person, and you point at this guy and you say, what do you think about that guy? And they say, well, that guy's never worked a day in his life. But actually, you know, the guys who kind of, you know, kind of live close to the streets, they're the hardest working guys that I know. And they're, you know, they're busting their asses. And I mean, a lot of them, like, the things that they have to do, you know, digging holes and I mean whatever
asbestos remediation, all that stuff.
Exactly.
Absolutely, yeah.
And whatever it is, like some of them are pretty broken down, and that's partly it. But I mean, you have to like, you're not just like if you're living on the streets. I mean, it's a lot of work. You know, you're my friend who I mentioned with the head injury. I mean, when he was living on the streets, I mean, he would walk around all day picking up cans, you know, all day. Yeah. And then you got to figure in there, you know, when am I going to, you know, get to Siloam or whoever's going to feed me, and I got to get here at the right time. Yeah. And while I'm over here, I got to walk over there and I got to go stand in line over there. I mean, there's like logistics and there's a lot of, you know, walking around and there's a lot of kind of effort. Like it's not just being passed out. I mean, if you were passed out the whole time, you'd already be dead.
Well, exactly. And and I've encountered individuals that would wake up at 4:00 in the morning to be at these temp agencies by 5:30 to make sure that they were in line to get one of the more regular gigs in hopes that they would end up employed by these companies, right? Once again, fully accessing shelters and support. But every morning, 4:30, getting up, getting ready. Now, indulging in some substance, you know, like at the end of the day, like more like there's a lot of people that do that, right? So doing that and then going to bed.
You can't. There's no. We don't need to pretend it's all just milk and eggs. I mean,
no, absolutely, of course, and indulging in substance, then you know, coming in, going to bed around 9:00, waking up at 4 a.m. the next day again to do this whole process all over again. So you're absolutely right, and sometimes you're talking 12 to 14-hour days.
I am. A couple of years ago, I was just out back. I was doing something with my truck, and this guy, when the place next the apartment was still doing what it was doing before, there was a guy who came by and he said, "Hey, can you drive me out to my res? I've got a check that came there, and I can't get it here. I have to go down there to pick it up, and I can't, don't know anybody with a car. I can't get there. Can't get a ride. It's a check for this much money. I'll give you this much money to take me." And I was done for the day, but I was kind of like, is this really a thing I want to do? And then I was like, okay, sure, okay. So we went, and this guy was, kind of rough shape. He was also missing an eye. And that was in a fight, though. That wasn't, he couldn't blame Pinochet for that one. But,
fair.
And he was a little bit older than me. And, as we drove and we're driving, through farmland and stuff, and then he starts telling me about how he used to work on a farm, and, like all the kind of, like just all these things, like I said, he was 60 or whatever. And like all these just little snippets of all these things that he'd done in his life, and it was very just interesting to me that like, again, like if you'd pointed at that guy and said, "Has that guy ever worked on a farm?" you'd say no.
Absolutely.
And so you just don't know. I mean,
everybody's just as complex, right? Yeah.
And so for me, and this sort of goes back to what I was saying like 20 minutes ago, like to see, I just kind of, everybody was just like everybody.
Yeah.
And then when you start to break it down, like one of my helpers that I had who lived in the house next door, we worked together for a long time, and we would drive all around, and he was obsessed with license plates.
Okay.
He would just always, where is that, Montana? He was just always like looking around, always watching, and he didn't have a driver's license, but always watching for license plates, like a thing that you wouldn't, just like a weird little thing that you wouldn't just, that you just wouldn't think about somebody, because we just want everybody to fit in our neat little box, and that's a general thing.
Right, and we're allowed to be quirky, right? Because we have our 9-to-5s and we have a place to stay.
Yeah.
But anything else outside of that is seen as something else, right? Like even with myself, like I really like motorcycles. I really like building stuff and using my hands and wrenching in any way that I possibly can. So I sympathize with individuals that are taking bikes apart or taking certain things apart, right? And piecing things together, and all of a sudden making this brand new this cart or something that they're pulling around with, right?
You see the homemade stuff all the time. And even a couple of years ago, there was a guy who had a very ingenious thing that was like, it was a Frankenstein thing that was like, a couple of shopping carts with, there was a coat rack. He had all these things put together that stored all his stuff, and somehow it moved. Somehow it moved, and I don't know where he went or what he did with it, but it held like all his stuff.
Yeah. That way you didn't have to iron it the next day.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I mean, it was just, it was very ingenious, and I guess I feel like if I'm just sitting here thinking, and I'm like, people watch all these dumb Netflix shows about documentaries about whatever, and about true crime, and about those people that climb up buildings illegally.
I know what you're talking about.
They got caught yesterday for climbing up the Empire State Building.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're
talking about. People will watch all that stuff.
Yeah.
People like those stories. We should be telling more of those stories for the people that are,
absolutely,
people that are on the streets, and
everybody. Like I said, and I'll just revert back a little bit to what I said there. Everybody's just as complex as everybody else is. We all have our wins. We all have our losses. Some of us have a lot more wins than losses. Others more losses than wins. But our emotions are all there. All this really complex individual geared by life experience and life stories, and you have your traumatic events and intergenerational trauma that's occurred, right? And this is also a clear sign of resilience, right? Like some folks are in their 70s or 80s and still are here, and they're still doing their thing, and just speaks on the resilience of this, right? I think these are the things that we look over sometimes, and we don't really talk about those stories. It would be amazing for somebody to go out there and start jotting some of these stories down, because I guarantee you would have a book within a couple of days, right?
Do you think that the younger generation, how are they doing? Like, I mean, a lot of the stuff that I hear, and not all of it, because I do certainly hear some bigoted younger people, but I mean, a lot of the older people that I know, it ranges from just clueless to very bigoted. Yeah. And I certainly grew up in a home that had a lot of casual racism that I wasn't really just wasn't really aware of until later. And I mean, we like, I don't know, when I went to school, I don't know, like maybe junior high, there were maybe like half a dozen kids that weren't white in school. Okay. And so do you think that is there more hope for the younger generation? Or
I sure hope so. I really hope so. Like, I can only speak kind of like within my bubble, right? One of the things that we do, like with my partner there, is, for example, all my kids that are, let's say, 14 years and older, because we come from a big blended family, so we have a lot of this. They've all been taught how to use naloxone, every single one of them. Not because we think that they should be responding, like running out of vehicles and doing all these things, but we have toxic drugs, right? Kids go to parties all the time. We have some. I have a stepson who's about to be 18, who's a hockey bro. So, going to parties and figuring that stuff out. A couple of older kids that need to learn and be able to help their friends if things happen. And we also have a younger group of kids, and they've been really instrumental in when we drive around, and if I'm not really paying attention or we're having a conversation, they'll be like, "Hey, Victor, by the way, that person at that bus shelter is not moving." So I'll pull over and go and assist. So I have hope. I have hope that as the helpers, are getting a little bit older, we start to kind of pass on what we've learned to the younger generation, and that generation will kind of pick up the torch after we get tired and maybe my knees don't work as I can't get to the individual as quickly as I used to be able to. So I do have hope. I do have hope. And as we advance, right, because we're advancing tremendously when it comes to research and addictions and different things like that. Not as fast as we'd like to see on the street, right? These processes happen up here and we're down here. We start to understand a little bit more of what's going on. I think we'll have a better ability to address some of these situations.
And you said something that I think is very important that lots of people don't really realize. You're talking about the poison drug supply. When my partner worked for a couple of years at 9 Circles, and they stopped calling it. They stopped saying overdose, and they just started saying drug poisoning. Because in a lot of cases, people were using a sort of a normal dose, and it's just that the what you buy, that's you buy it as one thing, and it's full of horse tranquilizer and a bunch of poison. And so,
well, even in that language, we separate things, right? Because what happens if you drink too much alcohol?
You get drunk.
Or if, let's say, you keep going, you end up with a medical condition.
Alcohol poisoning.
Right. So, but alcohol poisoning has always been called alcohol poisoning. Drug poisoning is only something we're starting to see now. Right. So even in that, where we marginalize individuals who use certain substances versus others, right? And you're right. Like we've never seen a more toxic supply of substance than we're seeing today. Right. So this is a huge concern. And usually what happens in these cases, like we saw this uptake when the fentanyl started coming into the supply. Has the fentanyl ever stopped coming into the supply? No, right? It hasn't. Now it's pretty much at everything. Now we're seeing this tranquilizer coming in, and this is becoming the new norm now.
Yeah.
Right. So my concern is what's the next thing that comes in that also adds to a level of toxicity to this supply, right? So and this is where like my belief in harm reduction goes beyond most folks, because I'm a huge believer that if an individual is seeking help, we should be able to remove the violence and the toxicity from that drug supply and give them an alternative, right? I take an amphetamine every morning, right? I have attention deficit. I have to take this pill every morning, which is also terrible, by the way. If you have attention deficit and they make you remember to take a pill every morning just to make sure you can function, it's terrible. But there are certain substances that we can provide individuals that would remove some of the violence and the toxicity, right? Are we there yet? Are we ready for that conversation? I don't think so, right? I don't think so, but...
It is interesting, and I don't know if this is really intentional, but it's interesting that it's like, it's so much easier now to buy weed than it is to buy alcohol even.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these, a lot of the vendors have closed as, you know, these hotels have turned into other things.
Yeah.
And like there's a vendor, not a vendor, sorry. There's a standalone booze shop that just opened over here at Isabel, and it's that was interesting to me because I guess it's under the new guidelines, the new liquor law guidelines. But I realized that we're actually in right here where we are. We're in sort of an alcohol desert in that there's nothing. You can't really buy alcohol between, I want to say, the McLaren and the what's not the stock exchange. What's the place at Logan and Arlington?
Oh, the lipsticks.
Yeah.
Yeah, the old Teddy Bobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but between there and there was kind of kind of nowhere. But there's weed everywhere. There's weed shops on every corner, and you don't even have to have ID. I mean, it's like Fort Knox to get into the LC. But I don't know. That just seems interesting to me. And I'm, as a person who I don't you know, I take my regular medication from the doctor.
Yeah.
And I'm actually, a new thing is I've started microdosing mushrooms.
Okay.
For my mental health. But I don't know. My partner says it's working. I don't know if it does. But other than that, like I don't drink. I don't, you know, do any kind of recreational drugs. I don't. I can't even smoke weed because makes me paranoid.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat, by the way. But even alcohol with myself, yeah.
But I feel like, I guess I feel like weed seems like the least terrible out of all those things. Yeah. I feel like, how many times are people high on weed just trying to get into a fight? Or
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, exactly. Nobody's ever smoked a bunch of weed and decided to go rob a bank.
Yeah.
In most cases, you're ordering pizza and making some outlandish plans with your friends.
Yeah.
Right.
So I kind of feel like if that means more people are smoking weed, I'm okay with that. That seems like kind of the ultimate harm reduction. You did say something about in this. I did want to touch on this. You said something about universal basic income.
Yeah.
Is anybody talking about that other than Leah Gazan?
I think just Leah Gazan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, good for her.
I support it 100%.
Bless her,
yeah.
but like,
I think it's a great idea. There's been a lot of research done in this. And Dr. Carl Hart does a lot of studying around substance use and poverty.
Yeah.
Right. And he's done some really, really interesting studies on this.
Yeah.
And in a majority of cases, when we're dealing with a lot of the symptoms that lead to substance use disorder are poverty and things that occur within poverty.
Yeah.
So if we're giving individuals basic income, we have the opportunity then to start removing some of these aspects. Yeah. Like, you know, we're in a real retail theft crisis. Yeah. Right? We're all in all kinds of different things. We have individuals who are in EIA that barely covers anything that they're wanting to do, even if they were not living in that substance use disorder, right? Yeah. So it would... change things, I believe.
And this is what gets me is that it's, you know, that a lot of people, you know, people with money or people with businesses or whatever, like, I feel like people can't even think in their own self-interest. I feel like if you don't care about anybody, I mean, if you just thought about your own self-interest, like if you want your shoplifting to stop happening, or if you want, you know, there's just all these things that would actually be better for you.
Yeah.
If we did this, it would be better for you. You know,
Like,
if
so-
if we do this over here, the supervised consumption site, you can use the bus because
Absolutely.
the bus shack is not going to be.
And then so right now, and it's funny because I've seen this a few times show up, and they're like, well, look at the province is spending all this money on the security guard to sit out here of this empty building.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, the building's empty because of the backlash.
Yes, I know.
So if
it's
you
a very dumb argument.
Right. So if you want to sit there and nickel and dime the solution,
Yeah.
then let's open the solution and see what happens.
Yeah.
Right? And the same thing, we don't have safe places for people to go. With the lack of a safe consumption site, every other space becomes a consumption site.
Yeah.
And then we've seen that time and time again, right? With bus shelters, with Tim Hortons, bathrooms, like these are all things that are occurring on a day-to-day basis. The substances are out there. The people are using them.
Yeah, we have a friend who just kind of she hangs out at the Tim Hortons on Sherbrooke.
Okay,
She lives over there,
Yep.
and she I think they give her the key, and when people need to go into the bathroom, she lets them in. She just is a retired person that has time, and and you know. Somebody died in there, you know, like, at 9 Circles, somebody would OD in the bathroom every day, and not just like die, like very often.
Yeah.
And they had doctors and stuff there, which was great. But I mean, that wasn't like their main function.
Right.
But it became that because there's,
Well, in most cases, that's what these spaces have become, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are they doing right now? Are they waiting? Are they waiting for something?
I'm not 100% sure. I know that there's some exemptions that need to occur.
So they're waiting for the feds to...
I think so.
The federal government, see, my understanding was before, they were waiting for the federal government to give them this kind of, the carve out. But the provincial Tories had people writing to their federal, their MPs and whatever, and saying, to try to get the federal government to stop that.
Yeah.
So, I just wasn't sort of up on it. I could see that it was. I've been driving by it every day, and I could see that. Was it open briefly?
I think
there was a sign.
I think we saw the article. I think it was open for about 24 hours.
There was a sign that said "Enter here."
Yeah,
I saw the sign. I didn't see anybody around.
Yeah.
But no, I mean it's it is really needed. And I have I wrote a letter to the editor. I've spoken out at the those meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've said, hey, nobody lives closer to this thing than I do.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
literally, nobody lives closer than
Yeah.
I do. And so this is what I think.
Do you find so? Can I ask you a question? Do you find it interesting that some of the people that are the most vocal about this are ones that come into the area for work, spend 8 hours here, and then drive off to wherever it is that they go?
Well, I mean, I understand. I guess that doesn't surprise me. I understand the. See, right here, right where we are, there's a number of sort of kind of industrial coded businesses. There's the most kind of retail one is this plumbing place here. But there's lots of car stuff. There's welding. There's various things like that. And I understand. I understand kind of the inclination to. How do I put this? I understand that if you think that this is going to make things worse, then you don't, you think this is going to affect your business or whatever. Like I understand the theory of the case there, but the thing is, like, just not having it isn't, like, it's already a gong show over here. So I feel like if anything, it's got to make it better, because it's there's it's pretty bad in a lot of ways. So I just don't understand I guess people are dumb. And I guess they just think, if we just send this off somewhere else, and if I say no, then whatever.
And the reason why I bring it up is it's just interesting to me to hear. Like, I understand people's livelihoods. Right?
Yeah.
We have generational, like, businesses, right? Where it was started by a father's father, and you're now in your third generation and things like that. I totally understand. I'm just more interested in folks that are actually immersed in the community, as opposed to those opinions, right? Because unfortunately, individuals get to visit our kind of neck of the woods 8 hours a day for the next X amount of time.
And
right?
a lot of the people that are complaining don't have any good connection to the neighborhood at all. I mean, at least those people that are down here 8 hours a day are down here 8 hours a day. I mean, there's lots of people that are just, they don't think the government should be putting money into this kind of thing. They don't think, or even like people, honestly, like, some of the worst people that I've heard have been people who have been, had a substance use issue, or they've, were alcoholics or whatever, and they've quit. And they're like, well, I quit, whatever it is, whether it's booze or crack, I quit. They can too. And I mean, that's very wrong, because
Absolutely.
I mean, it's some people can do that, and great, good for them. I know people that have quit, and that's good for them. But I mean, I know a lot of people who, have been through program after program after program, and just can't. So, or can't stay quit, I guess.
And that's the thing, and that creates a certain, and for lack of a better term, a certain level of arrogance, right? I found my way out. Why can't you? Not understanding that your story is a completely different story,
and
right?
some of those, and some of that is sort of. Some of that is sort of religious coded. I mean, there's one guy was like, well, why don't you give all the money to Walls of Freedom over here on Ellen, whatever street that is over there. And they'll help people to, or Teen Challenge, Adult Teen Challenge. Well, and so, I mean, like I say, good for the people like Street Links over here, with their dry out program. I mean, that's great. But it's really not one size fits all.
Absolutely. And there has to be an avenue for all kinds of different things, right? When we're talking about the majority of folks that are out there being Indigenous, and the harms that have come from certain religious aspects that were introduced, is that the best alternative for those individuals? Or is it grounded more in a cultural support and reconnecting people to that community and that culture, right? So it's multifaceted. You're right. It's not one size fits all, right? It has to be very individualized.
We're out of time already. It's just flown by. But I do want to just ask before we go, if people do care, not people that are kind of like me that are immersed in it, but people that are living in River Heights or Wolseley or St. James or whatever, people that do care but they don't know what to do. What's the one thing you would tell them to do?
So I practice this every day. I see you, I hear you, and if I can, I'll help you. And what that means is I'm not going to dismiss an individual who's trying to talk to me, whether it is to ask for change or ask for any level of support. What I'm going to do is say, I hear you, I can help you, or hey, buddy, I can't help you at this time, but I'm going to at least acknowledge you as a human. I see you. I'm hearing what you have to say to me. And then we move forward from there. That's
a great idea, great advice rather, and I'm going to have to think about how to do that, because I want to ignore all the people out in the world. It doesn't matter who they are.
I understand that.
Thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. My guest has been Victor. I have ADHD. Your last name dropped out of my head already.
Yeah, it's Mondaca.
Victor Mondaca. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you again.